Hello and welcome to Only2MG Inside the Crisis. I'm your host, Brian Townsend. It's my pleasure to introduce our next guest, Matt Fox. I've had the opportunity to work with him over the last few years and excited for that opportunity, and we'll share that project here as we talk more to Matt. But first, I want to really get into his origin story, and I'm fascinated by it. I love his story and his past experience. And one thing I've really gotten to know about Matt is just he's a good guy, great heart, big heart, really cares about people and the type of person that I like to associate with. So, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. I kind of looked around. I was like, who's he talking about? Unless you had said my name, I wouldn't have known it was me. But thank you. This is quite an honor. This is quite a pleasure. So thank you for having me. I'm
No, no,
excited to talk to you and have a chance to share my story and listen to your story too.
yeah, absolutely. No, it's my pleasure. I when I learned your origin story and more about you and who you are and your experience, I love that story, and I've had you share it a few times, and I'm going to ask you to share it again today. And I really want to start in college. You went to school where, and what was your original major?
I went to Kent State University in Kent, Ohio, and I went there because my older brother kind of helped me decide on where I wanted to go to college. And ironically, I, it's not ironic, but I went into geology because my main goals I wanted to go into forestry. I thought, in high school I was excited when I took biology classes that I wanted to go in forestry. So at Kent, you would go through their program and then eventually go to some place like Michigan State or North Carolina to study forestry. But I started out in geology because you needed that core background. And I'll tell you, Brian, I was not a geology major. I was horrible at it. Um,
Did you know originally? I mean, your first couple classes, was it just, did it hit you in the face pretty hard, or?
well, no, because as you start out as a freshman and a sophomore, you're kind of taking basic classes. But then I took a class called geomorphology. It's a study of groundwater. I hope I pronounced that even correctly. But gosh, I knew right away I was just struggling. I was drowning. But this is a testament actually to professors that we have in our lives that actually recognize that a student is struggling. And I had a guy that just, thank goodness he came along and saw this. His name is Dr. Heimlich. He was a geology professor, and I was in the middle of a test, and he must have seen the ghost, my eyes just exploding, and he called me into his office, and I thought, well, I'm not cheating. What's going on? What am I doing? And he sat me down and said, Matt, what are you doing here? I said, well, I'm taking a test. And he goes, no, why geology? I said, and I kind of told him what I was doing. He goes, Matt, you're not a geologist. It's just not what you're going to be good at. He goes, look around the room. Look at all the other students. They're they're kind of introverted. They kind of, they're focused on what they're doing. And you're the guy that's running around the room, joking around, trying to tell stories and stuff. And he goes, Matt, I just don't think you're going to be happy as a geologist. Not that you couldn't probably cut it, but you're not going to be happy. So I listened to him, and he got on the phone and he called somebody, and he goes, "Hey Lou, I got this guy here, this kid, and can I send him over to your class and have him talk to you a little bit?" And he hung up the phone. He said, "Matt, you're going to have to go over to the school of theater. Sorry about the phone. I am working. You have to go over to the school of theater." And I said, "Theater? I've never done anything at theater." So I went over to the theater department. I walked in, and they were auditioning for a play. And the guy that I was supposed to meet, you all know Nick Nolte. You know who the character actor Nick Nolte. Well, that was Dr. Erdman, Lou Erdman. He, I mean, he looked like I was the Marlboro Man, and just looked this big guy. And he said, "Come over here, sit down. What's your name?" I said, "Matt Fox." And he goes, "Fox, have you ever been in a play?" And I go, "No, sir, never done that. Never thought." "Well, you're going to audition today." And I said, "Yeah, okay." And he goes, "Can you sing?" I said, "Well, yeah, I can sing." And I go, "Well, do you have a song prepared?" And I go, "No, I've never done this." And he goes, "Well, just go up there and sing Happy Birthday." So Brian, as I was walking up to the stage, my mind's going, there's all these kids, all these other actors, and I walked up and I had this song in my head. And a lot of older people will remember this show called The Flintstones. And there was a song where the two girls, Barney and Fred, they bought a burger place, and the two girls, Wilma and Betty, were singing this song, and I started singing it. It was basically, here we come on the run with a burger on a bun. And I sang that whole song, and the place just went nuts.
Wow. Hey,
And
I got time. I got 20 minutes prior to this, you were literally taking a test.
yes, I was taking a geology test, and I
After
walked
a
over to
phone
this
call, you
building,
walked. Yeah. Yeah.
and I walked in sight unseen, never seen these people. Brian, I've never been on stage before. In high school, I didn't do high school theater. You know, I, I was a clown. In school, it's funny, I thought, but I never thought of this as a way to study. And I got cast in the play,
So,
and
so
he put me in the play.
the audience just erupts. Everyone's just going crazy.
They went crazy,
You're, you,
applauding.
yeah.
I
And
mean, and I
you get the part.
and I got a part, and I got a part. It was a small part, but it was a nice part, and I got to go through the whole rehearsal process. And I listen to other podcasts with actors and stuff, and there's always that moment in life, and I think you know this too with your career, where you go, "This is right." I just, it's a God moment, or it's a moment where you say, "Thank goodness this happened." And think back to Dr. Heimlich, that he had the wherewithal to say to me, "Matt, this is what you need to do." And that's a testimony to teachers, and I'm getting emotional thinking about it right now, how big a change that was. And just fast forward, I changed majors. I became a theater major. I did a ton of plays. We did a summer stock theater at Kent. It's called Porthouse. And I was just in a show. We were doing Camelot, and I had a small part. And it was a the audience was at a raised seat, and I'm walking down to enter my into this play, and to the left of me was Dr. Heimlich
Oh,
sitting at with his wife watching the show.
how
And
special is
I
that?
just I
Yeah.
just grabbed his hand, and he grabbed my hand, and away I went. And if I could fast forward, if you don't mind,
Sure.
I ended up being on HGTV and had a long run. And I went back to that school at Kent, and I purposely walked down the school of geology, and it was summer. Nobody was there, supposedly. And I saw that his office door was open and his lights were on, Dr. Heimlich's. And I walked in, and he goes, "Matt, Fox, what are you doing?" Because we said, "Oh, my wife and I watch your show." And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "Ironically, I'm retired. I came back today to gather some stuff from my office." And he goes, "I normally wouldn't be here." So
Wow.
I got to thank him and tell him that I couldn't have been more grateful for his guidance. And so that's that story.
That's amazing. And
Oh, well,
how random is that for you to visit the school on
I
the
know.
one day that he returned?
Serendipity, serendipity.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I just
Wow.
floated out of there to be able to see him again, to thank him. That was a
Yeah,
big deal.
absolutely. It's always wonderful to have those teachers and folks in your life that just touch you in that very amazing way that just really pushes the direction of your life.
Yeah. Well, I
And
have to say, Brian, I mean, my opportunity to meet you, to have the chance to work with you, don't be modest. Um, you have been very instrumental in this stage of my life and this stage of my career, what you do for us as a company, but also just who you are. So, I think we're really blessed on who we get to be, who we meet in our lives.
yeah.
And you're one of those people.
Well, I appreciate that. I will brag about a teacher I had. His name was Gene Dew, Dew, and he taught in Woodbridge, Virginia, Woodbridge Senior High School. And I found him years and years later and sent him a message about how impactful he was and the little things he did made a difference in my education and my life and just incredible. So I not the same type of story as yours, but I understand the impact that these people make and it's always special to recognize them. So
Yeah.
I,
And it's not about the story, it's the people. I
yeah,
mean, that is so instrumental. And you've told me about people in your career as far as a DEA agent, as a police officer, those important people that have motivated you or, taught you things or just inspired you to do what you do. And you did it so well.
well, let's get back to you.
Okay, back to me.
So, so
Let's
you
get back to me. I've
let's
been waiting for that.
post college. You
Yeah.
are in California,
Yep.
and You're working with Sherman Williams.
Yep. I'm a
And
paint salesman.
let's talk about that a little bit and how that led into your return to Ohio, if you will, and ultimately, you know, your
Yeah.
your introduction to HGTV.
Well, real quickly, I moved out to LA when I graduated from college. Everybody goes either to New York or LA. And Brian, go
So you
ahead.
want to be an actor.
I did. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think everybody does. And quite frankly, I gave it a shot. I moved out to LA and I did my 10 minutes of time there. And you learn real quickly. I mean, I did some auditions where I basically walked across the stage and they said, "Thank you." You know,
As you're walking.
and I
Wow.
think I realized that, there's a special talent to be an actor, especially in LA or New York. So I kind of gave up that dream pretty quickly, but that's okay. I think it was good for me to try. I had to try. So I moved up to San Francisco, and I figured if I'm going to be poor, I might as well be living in the Bay Area. And I I ended up teaching theater and English. And during that time period, I met a buddy of mine who was painting houses. And in the summer, I started painting houses. And quite frankly, I made a lot more money than I was teaching. I was substitute teaching than teaching, and I wasn't making a ton of money, so I made more money painting. So I left teaching, painted houses, went back and got a business degree, and decided that what could I sell? What can I be a part of? And I saw an ad for Sherwin-Williams, took in, a sales position for Sherwin-Williams, and then in that process over time, I was lucky. I won Salesman of the Year for my division. Don't get too excited because San Francisco had a major earthquake.
Oh,
So
you're being modest.
yeah, I was able to sell a lot of paint. And that led me to going to a sales meeting where I was very fortunate. I met this young lady who was the color stylist for Sherwin-Williams for the brand I was working with. It was called Martin Senor. And her name was Sherry Hiller. And we got to talking at this sales meeting about what we wanted to do with our careers at Sherwin-Williams. And she was traveling around the country teaching salesmen about color and how paint can enhance people's homes by using color. And I was actually doing a lot of training for Kmart and Home Depot about how to sell paint. And we thought, well, I told her my background, and she said, well, what if we put what you know on videotape and what I know on videotape, and we just send it out to salesmen instead of traveling all over? And I said, that's great. So we went our separate ways. I was still in San Francisco. She's in Cleveland, which is the world headquarters of Sherwin-Williams. And we got to talking and sharing ideas and so forth. And she told our boss, who was the president of the company, that she wanted to do this. And he goes, yeah, okay. And she goes, well, I'd like Matt Fox from California to come back and do it with me. And he goes, absolutely not. No way. You're not bringing Matt Fox back here. And she goes, well, why? What did he do? Well, he's a salesman. He's doing well for us. Why would I do it?
He's
So,
selling too
Brian,
much. Yeah.
she called me up and told me that. So I quit.
Wow.
I quit because I thought, this is something that could turn into something. Because at the time, if you look at what's happening on television, there was a program called This Old House. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And there was another show called Annette Bennings out of Canada. And I thought, well, maybe this is an opportunity for me to use my acting skills, my theater skills, and do something with that. So I loaded up my car and I moved back to Ohio. I told Sherry, hey, I can be a salesman somewhere. And I was very fortunate that Sharon Williams called me up and said, hey, come back to Cleveland and we'll find a position for you. And
What
so,
I gotta, sorry to interrupt you, Ian. So, when I do leadership training, and we always talk about risks and people who are willing to take these life defi life defining decisions, right? And that's what you did, right? I mean, you left a very probably a comfortable
yeah,
life, right? I mean, maybe
yeah,
not what you wanted, but you knew what you woke up every day and you knew what to expect. And here you
yeah.
are just saying, "Hey, I'm going to take this risk because I see something more. I see this vision." And I think that's powerful that and inspirational, really, that
Well,
you took
I'll be
that step
honest with you,
forward.
I was scared to death. I was, but I knew that it was something I had to do.
Yeah.
And I believed in myself. I knew that I would find something else to do. And, I missed Ohio. California is great. It's very expensive. And I thought, well,
Yeah.
and I had my brothers and my mom were here in Ohio. So I thought, well, I'll go back to Ohio. I'll find what I need to do. But I was fortunate. Sharon Williams brought me back. And I was working next to Sherry. And we kept pitching it to the upper management. And Scott King, who was the president of the consumer brand, said, hey, I've got a buddy who has a local TV station. Why don't you and Sherry give it a shot? And he says, you'll still have to do your jobs at SW, but at night you could shoot this TV show. So it was a local access. It was only like 50,000 homes, but it gave us a chance to be together on camera. We built all our sets. We taught everything, and we were a teaching show. We just didn't, we taught. Sherry taught how to sew. I taught how to build. Luckily, from my experience at theater, I was able to learn how to use tools and build things. And so we did that show for about 18 months, and then
Wow.
it kind of ran its course. Plus, we were exhausted because we were working at night and also doing our regular jobs. And I was in my office one day reading the Wall Street Journal, and there's a section called What's News, and it's just a little section, and it was about this new network being started by called Home and Garden Television. And I literally ran into Sherry's office and I dove across her desk. We got to call these guys. We got to call these people. And it was Scripps Howard down in Cincinnati, and I started calling them, and they kept hanging up on me saying, "Well, we're not, no, we don't do that." Finally, this young lady hooked me up with a guy to, and he picked up the phone and he goes, what can I do for you? And I said, well, I just read about this new network called Home and Garden Television. And he goes, yeah, we're starting something like that. And I said, well, my name's Matt Fox, and I have a small local television show, and we're sponsored by Sharon Williams. And he goes, when can we meet? Because he was
Wow.
looking at corporate sponsorship.
Yeah.
And that gentleman's name was Ken Lowe. And Ken Lowe developed HGTV. He went on to be the head of Scripps Howard, and eventually Scripps Howard sold to Discovery, which is now Discovery. Sherry and I met with them, and I remember we walked into the Waldorf Astoria, into their suite, and they shook our hands. They said, your life will never be the same. And quite frankly, it hasn't. Um, and Sherry and I had the very first show on HGTV. When they turned the satellite switch on in December of '94, it was Matt and Sherry on Room by Room.
Wow.
And that was, yeah, it was great. And my life hasn't been the same.
That's
It was
awesome.
quite an opportunity.
Yeah. And I love how Sherman Williams saw the value in you. So even though when you took that personal leap of faith, they end up calling you back and saying, no, we want to make we have home you're part of our family. We want to make a home for you here. And
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
neat as well. So
Well, I got to go ahead. I'm sorry, I
no,
interrupted.
no, please, good.
I got to give credit to Sherry Hiller. I mean, she had a
Absolutely. Yeah.
vision, and she was. pretty high up in the company, and she had their ear.
Yeah.
And I got to give her credit. She did it. She is the one that really was the driving force. And Scott King, who is the president,
Yeah.
he saw the vision too, and he saw the need. How, if you look at paint, how it was always a commodity. You used it to protect your home. With Sherry and her vision, it was how do you bring color? How do you bring design and
Wow.
decor into your home? So that kind of shifted from just a male dominated product to
Yeah.
a very female dominated product. And if you look at it now, I mean, color is the king.
Yeah.
Um, so she had a vision, and I can't thank her enough.
Yeah.
Again, another
That's,
person in my life. I
yeah.
just follow everybody's coattails.
No, not at all. And that's, at DEA, we used to call it push and pull, right? Your bosses and your colleagues can push you, but if no one's pulling you, then sometimes it can
Right.
be a challenge, right? So you
Yeah.
had your own push, but then you had her, and like I said, she had the right ears to talk to, and she knew your value, obviously, and
Well,
and
yeah, it was a definitely a collaborative effort. There needed to
that's
be
awesome.
that give and take, and I mean, we worked so well on camera together.
Yeah,
I think because we were friends and we gave each other space, and
that's
I think
awesome.
that's
Yeah,
important, especially when you're doing a collaborative effort.
yeah.
There's no one person that's the lead. It was collaborative. It was a shared endeavor.
So the show is room by room,
Yep.
and how long does it run? And now the show is what inexpensive and new
Yep.
ways to decorate every room
One
of your
room at a
house.
time. And that's what, the network has kind of changed its formats. It's very inspirational now. When the network started, there were other shows that were more educational.
Mhm.
It's almost like YouTube. There was gardening shows where it was very simple. It wasn't about major landscaping. It was about
Yeah,
how to mow your grass, how to take care of your lawn. Our show is the same. How to paint a room, how to build small shelves. It was very simple. Nowadays, and I'm not knocking the network, but you look at them tearing down a whole house or building a whole house. I mean, the average Joe can't afford that. I mean, we can afford one room at a time.
it's
The
practical. Yeah.
practical, and that's what our show was. And we ran for 12 years with that show. We did specials for them. Um, we went from 24 shows a year to 36 shows, so and eventually we did hire people to help us. When it started, it was just her and I, but then it moved to, being bigger and better.
So just curious, favorite room of the house to redo, to decorate
Kids
or redo.
rooms, children's rooms.
Okay,
Yeah, because you can kind of be a little bit more, have fun.
sure.
We would build headboards that were in the shape of lions or bears.
Yeah,
I built a really cool baseball bat headboard one time for this young man.
yeah.
And quick story, his mom said he never cleaned his room until our show. And from then on, I built him this headboard and I told him, you got to take care of this. And his mom said he kept and we stayed in touch with those people afterwards. And but kids' rooms, those are my favorite by
Yeah,
far.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So room by room, then ultimately your next endeavor is a different show, right?
Yeah, we did a PBS show called Around the House with Matt
Around
and
the house.
Sherry. We
Okay.
did that for 3 seasons.
Okay.
And then eventually, just to go back to HGTV, 12 years on television is a long time.
Yeah.
And you reach your life cycle. You can kind of tell when you've reached your plateau. And we didn't want to go down. We wanted to kind of end on a high note. And I
Yeah.
think the network was very attuned to that as well. So I think we left at the right time. There was really no more to be said. But the PBS show that gave us an opportunity to do different things. We could look different. We can act different. We could do bigger projects. So we did that for 2 years, and then Brian, the life cycle of our time together just kind of reached a point. Sherry wanted to move to Florida, and I wanted to do different things. So that's kind of what happened.
All right. Yeah, and that's part of life, right?
Yeah,
That's part of the journey,
exactly. Exactly.
writing different chapters.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to how we met, because that's the next part of
Yeah.
somewhat of the next part, right? So
No, I think it's a very important part. I think, a lot of people say, well, you got to be disappointed your television career is over. Not at all. Life is segments of time. You move on to the next project, you do something different. And I got the opportunity to come here to Summit Glove. A friend of mine owns the company, Jim Hall. He's been in the glove business a long time. He asked me to join them, and I've been thrilled. I've been here almost 13 years.
wow.
And, if you look back, I did have a business degree, so I do like being in business, and I've had some great opportunities here, especially with what you're part of now. This new product that we're working with, this new project, is to me, it's a game changer, not only for our company, but for your business, for first responders, for police, sheriffs, DEA. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I am as well. So everyone catches up to us to where we are. I met Jim a few years ago in San Diego, and we hit it off,
Yeah,
and uh, we began a relationship where I was interested in the gloves that you guys are manufacturing, the Get Grips.
yeah,
And because of my work with talking to primarily law enforcement, but to everyone really, but primarily law enforcement across the United States, and I was doing more and more presentations. Um, Jim was interested in me seeing the gloves and what they could do for first responders, and I loved it. I had a couple other companies give me gloves around that same time period, and they were trash.
yeah,
They
yeah.
really were. And I love these particular gloves. And then, like I said, the relationship just continued, and I ultimately met you and other folks from the company, and that's where we are right now, where we'll talk about this amazing product that
Yeah,
you kind of teased a little bit. You guys have developed a fentanyl wipe.
yeah.
So let's talk about that fentanyl wipe. So when I was first excited because this was a product that it was a wipe that
Uh-huh.
once it touches fentanyl, it changes colors. It detects
Yeah.
fentanyl, and that's how you and I end up working more and more together. And yeah, let's talk about that. I'm so
Well, it's
excited for
it's
this
quite
product.
a story too, and it kind of going back to the Get a Grip glove. Jim's an innovator. I mean, he is, I almost call him a designer. And he developed this glove, the Get a Grip glove. It has a diamond texture.
Yeah,
There's an interior to it that tells, it's a wear indicator. But he also thought, you know, I need to get this tested for fentanyl, heroin, gastric acid. So we did third-party testing, and we were the first company that did an outside third-party testing. So Jim has a very high established name in the glove business. So things are happening during the pandemic where the government was looking for glove manufacturing in the United States instead of making them overseas.
China.
And Jim got involved with that process, and he was very upfront. He said, it takes a lot of time. You can't just turn the switch. But he also got involved with the University of Akron and the polymer group. And this was with a gentleman named Barry Townsend and also Dr. Joy, Dr. Abraham Joy. And Dr. Joy had come up with this idea of how to have a color indicator with fentanyl. And it's using a product that we all know, turmeric, which is part of the turmeric plant, coumarin. And he developed this wipe. And Jim saw this as an opportunity and he brought it to fruition. He's worked hard on it, and now we have a product that actually detects fentanyl with a wipe that almost looks like a Perel wipe, and it's a game changer.
I agree, and I don't mean to jump back and forth, but one of the reasons
That's
I was
fine.
really excited about this wipe was because I saw the passion and the work with the Get a Grip and just the gloves in general. And not coming from that industry, not coming from, that walk of life. I was, I had a learning curve, right? And
Yeah,
I've known to always wear nitrile gloves.
right.
And, typically I was part of offices that would typically buy the cheapest gloves, right? That would rip or stick together and just aggravating. And then when I saw this nitrile glove, I thought, okay, but it was more than that. Like you said, the diamond grip, the, the, the green inside, so if it
Yep,
rips,
the wear indicator.
the
Yep.
wear indicator. But I liked the third party testing you did because to me that was thoughtful because you had a concern in the first responder community that drugs like fentanyl, drugs like xylazine, drugs like heroin could potentially absorb in the skin, which we now know is not true, but
Right.
huge concern. So you all take this glove and you say, let's make it where it protects from those specific drugs. So you test
Correct.
it, against fentanyl, you test it against xylazine, you test it against heroin, gastric acid, which is vomit. But so I thought it
Yeah.
was really thoughtful, and because your end goal was to keep first responders safe, and that's one thing I really, really, really appreciated about with these gloves is that it wasn't just, I mean, yeah, you're a company, you want to sell product, I get that, but
Yeah.
you want to make a product that gives people the confidence to use it and know that you're thinking about them and their well-being. So I saw a lot of that translate into the fentanyl wipe, and that's one reason I
Yes.
was really excited to be a part of it because you were looking at a product that not only could help, just the moms and dads out there, but first responders as well. And from my perspective at DEA, to have a product that had that thoughtfulness in it,
Yeah.
it's a difference. So,
Well, if you look at the glove too, and you look at it, it it's not an inexpensive glove. It's a higher priced glove, but it just lasts.
oh,
And
wow.
you've been there before where you put a glove on that's an inexpensive glove and it breaks so easily.
Yeah,
Our goal is to make a glove that lasts, that had good force of break,
yeah,
that wouldn't rip. It's a premium product, but if you're throwing away a cheaper glove, 20% of the time, you might as well. And I'm always like, when I talk to police officers and sheriffs, why wouldn't you want the best for
yeah,
yourself?
yeah,
So, anyways, that leads to the wipe, to the first defense wipe. Why not make it the best? Why not make it the most practical, um, inexpensive in a sense to all the other tests that are out there, and something that's quick and efficient?
yeah,
You don't have time when you go on a call or a police officer, they need to make a decision. It is a presumptive test, so I want to make that clear. So it's just something that if you put on a pair of gloves, you should put a wipe in your pocket,
yeah.
when you're going out on a call. So Jim is really with with Dr. Joy. We have a company named Rockline that's working with us hand in hand. Their people are fantastic, and they've really, really worked hard on making this the best product possible.
Yeah, I'm excited. So you literally open this package up. There's a wipe there, and like you said, it's like a Perel wipe, right? It's just
Yeah,
it was a square or rectangular. I forget the exact dimension of it.
rectangular, 5 by 7,
Five by
five
seven,
by 7.
and we recommend wearing nitrile gloves, hopefully the Get a Grip,
Yeah.
and you touch but in the event that you do touch the wipe, you're going to be okay. It's not full
Right.
of harsh
Right.
chemicals, which is another thing I really like. I would always recommend using gloves, obviously, but in the event that you don't, or in the event that somehow gets compromised, well then you're touching a wipe that's not going to hurt you. So I like that.
Right.
Ideally, you're wearing, the Get a Grip nitrile gloves. You have the wipe in your hand, and now you can touch whatever surface or product. So if you have suspected fentanyl in front of you, and like you said, a presumptive drug test, meaning that you still need to send it to a lab. You still need to have that, official, if you will, analysis of what it is. But
Right.
it gives you a peace of mind before that, you know, before that substance is sent to a lab, and months later, if you're lucky, you get it back. That gives you that immediate peace of mind that, hey, I have fentanyl in front of me. Now I have to respond appropriately and take care of it.
Well, that's what's been great about having you on the team. Well, we don't know the actual, not only the legalities of the wipe, but also the process. And you've helped us with that process. What does a police officer do? What does a DEA agent do as far as the process? And you've been instrumental with us we've gone through hundreds of tests with this product, going to police officers, police stations or police departments all over the place and testing this. And you've been instrumental in helping us with that because we didn't know the culture, we didn't know what to expect, and you've helped us with that. And I just want to say the product is getting ready to launch. We're looking at the IACP, which is the International Association of Chief of Police. That'll be in Denver in October. That's when we'll officially launch the product. So we're thrilled to death. I mean, we can't believe how this all came to be. It's like I said earlier, it's a game changer.
Yeah, I agree, and we'll both be in Denver, and excited to see you there and
Right.
see the finished product, to have it, in our hand, and to be able to share that with other law enforcement, and show them, an incredible product that detects fentanyl, a
Yeah.
presumptive test that, for fentanyl, that's it's easy to use. I mean, it's literally just opening that package, pulling that wipe out, and either dabbing or wiping the
Yeah.
substance or area. You can put pills in it. I mean, it's really neat. It really is, and that's what, when you're in the. I can speak from the first responder, from the law enforcement perspective. You need something fast, and you need something that gives you that confidence, right? You
Yeah.
don't wanna play around. So I like that there's no ampules. There's no, not not to beat the other companies or trash the other companies, but you don't need a $25,000-$30,000 instrument to tell you what the drug is. I mean, you're talking about a wipe that instantly changed colors. I
Right.
love that. So I can't wait to see what the final package and everything. I
Yeah.
have an idea what it looks like. You all shared that with me, but until we actually see that box, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, well, you're very instrumental. I mean, and I don't know if it's telling stories out of school, but Brian has actually helped us with our step outs as far as there's going to be a video that people can go to see how it works. This isn't something that you can just like a glove you can drop off at a police station and say, "Hey, try our gloves." This is something that you have to actually teach somebody or show them how it works. And Brian, thank you. You've been so instrumental in helping us with that. So, um,
Now that was a lot of fun. I traveled to Cleveland,
yeah,
stayed right across the street from Sherman-Williams, and
yeah.
gosh, we've been saying their name so much, they ought to sponsor the show.
You think they would? You think they would? They should
So
help you out.
there you
They,
go, right?
they should.
Uh,
I'll make
but
some calls. They don't know who I am anymore, but I'll make some calls. I
there you
promise.
go. So yeah, I actually did a presentation for law enforcement, local law enforcement, and then the next day we end up doing some taping, which was a lot of fun because
Yeah,
your perspective and all your work in the in the industry, like the industry, right? I can use
yeah,
those words, right? But that was great because you got to be a part of that, and it made me feel more comfortable, and uh, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I'm excited. I can't
yeah.
wait for this product to hit the market.
Well, I have to say, I mean, you hit upon it. Just your presentations that you do, and I've gone to a couple of them. Your 4-hour presentation where you talk basically the history of opioids and the culture that it's. I had no clue. I had no clue. I'm not part of that, society. I've had surgery before and I've had to have, things pills to take after surgery, but I didn't realize how impactful this crisis is in America. And your presentations, I mean, if anybody is listening to this podcast and they haven't seen Brian's talk and you want to learn more about the culture that we're in and how it's affecting us, you need to sign up for one of his classes. Um, I've learned a lot, and that's going to help me as a salesman. as far as this product. Instead of just saying, yeah, yeah, fentanyl, yeah, it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. It's
It is.
huge,
Yeah, when you look
and
at
it's not
the,
going to go
yeah.
away.
No,
And
unfortunately, I wish it was, but it won't. You're right.
yeah, and they'll find something else, or they'll, it's such a huge business
Yeah.
that I don't know how they can ever stop it, but at least we can have some tools that can help us
Yeah.
mitigate it.
Yeah, that's one thing, in my training we talk about, back in 2016, I love DEA. I really do. I had a great career and still have many friends there, but we put a lot of information out at around 2016 time period that this was very dangerous, and it is. It's a very dangerous substance.
Yes.
But we put information out that just being around it could potentially cause an overdose. And we know now that you actually consume the drug. It has to get into your bloodstream. It has to get through a mucous membrane. Your nose, your mouth. An open cut, something. It's got to get in your body somehow. But because of that, a lot of police departments, sheriff's offices, and a lot of law enforcement in the United States to this day really restricted officers when they suspect they're around drugs like fentanyl, in the sense that they can't do presumptive drug tests, or they go buy these very, very expensive instruments. And again, great instruments. I'm really not trying to knock them, but that's one thing. Another thing I like about this product is now you have, it's inexpensive product that you can use, and you can use it with confidence. It's easy. It gives you that instant notification on whether or not the product you're messing with is fentanyl, and
Uh-huh.
then put in evidence. Send it to the lab, have the official analysis done. But I love that. It's a product that we can begin using immediately, and uh, and we can mitigate those risks together. So
Yeah, it's a big deal, and I'm so thankful that you have kind of demystified fentanyl a little bit. There was, we've all seen the videos where a police officer is, having an overdose, and we realize that it really isn't. It's more anxiety than anything. But I didn't know that until I met you, and I went through your seminars. And now that you have your LinkedIn page and you're sharing articles from other people, to just the knowledge that we need to have. Um, and I'm looking at it not only as a person trying to sell a product, but this is the world I'm exposed to now.
yeah.
And, I live in a large city, and I carry Narcan now with me. I never would have thought of carrying that. It's in my car, it's in my bag right next to me. Because now I know, you know, I may be put in, it's like knowing CPR. Why wouldn't you want to know how you can save a life? And that's what you've done for me. You've helped educate me to be a better individual as far as this culture that we're under.
Well, I appreciate that, and me working with you all has really helped me. Like I said, the relationship's been wonderful. I promise you, I'll have those wipes in my backpack right next to my Narcan.
Yeah,
To me, it's an essential part of just living now. And
yeah,
it's like having a fire extinguisher in a house. It's just something you hope you never have to
yeah.
use, but you
That's a great.
certainly. Yeah.
And we didn't touch upon this, real quickly. This isn't just for first responders. If I'm a parent and I suspect that there might be something going on with my child, or a school superintendent, or we've even Brian and I have been to shows for uh, that people talk about their mail that they receive, and things like that. It really is a useful tool. It's a useful tool.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because this does go well beyond the first responder community. I mean, I know,
Uh-huh.
schools, for instance, the lockers, jail cells, probation and parole. I mean,
Yeah.
parents. I mean, my goodness. If you're being interactive, uh, or you're being proactive in your child's life, and this is a tool that can help detect fentanyl, and that's a good thing, right? I mean, that's it could potentially save your child's life if because the last thing you want is, we know how deadly fentanyl is, and the last thing you want is anyone, for that matter, but certainly your children, to take a drug that it ends their life. From
Well, it's on your shirt right now, 2MG.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
quite honestly, one pill will kill.
Yeah,
And yeah, those stories you tell about even police officers that have lost a child, you know, because they're not aware of what, when we were kids growing up, we hid beer, you know. Now it's a different culture. Kids are exposed to a lot more dangerous substance.
yeah.
So
I
anything
tell,
that could help, anything that will make somebody's ease of mind that their child is safe, I'd use it.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. When I talk to young people, I tell them I know it's not fair, but the drugs have changed. They've changed a lot.
Yeah.
We didn't have a drug that could kill us the first time we used it. I mean,
Yeah.
everything's changed. I mean, when you and I were in high school, we lost 3,000 people a year to drugs. I'm not minimizing numbers, but that's pretty low compared to the 100,000 plus that we're now losing every year. And then when you dive deeper into those numbers, you look at 75% ish, if not more,
Yeah.
depending on what state you live in, lost their life to one drug. So yeah, any product that can help detect this one very powerful drug
Yeah.
that that has had a profound impact on our society, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Brian. You've done a lot. And just to clarify, when I was in high school, we just invented fire.
There you go. Well, Matt, I really appreciate your time and your friendship. It's meant a lot to me. And like I
Right
said,
back at you, brother. Right back at you.
well, thank you. Thank you for listening to Only2MG Inside the Crisis. I want to leave you with another statistic, one that I talk about in my presentations, and one that really startles me quite a bit. One of the Some data that I follow is from the DEA's National Forensic Laboratory Information System, the NFLIS-drug. And they work with about 98, 99% of the drug labs in the United States. Whether it's, whether it's the DEA seizing drugs, whether it's the state police, whether it's your local sheriff's office or police department, all this data gets looked at by DEA. And that's how we look at drug trends and things like that. Back in 2014, there were about 5,500 instances of fentanyl being seized by law enforcement in the United States, the entire United States. So 5,500-ish. By 2019, that number went over 100,000. So it's more than a 1,700% increase in 5 years. By 2020, there were more than 200,000 submissions of fentanyl by law enforcement. Again, to put that in perspective, you're looking at 5,500 in 2014 to over 200,000 just 6 short years later. That's more than a 3,500% increase. And from there, uh, it went everywhere. It came into our drug supply through heroin. If you can find heroin, there's a good chance, about a 75% chance it's going to contain fentanyl. And then it saturated our pills. We now know that 5 out of 10 pills that contain fentanyl have at least 2 milligrams of fentanyl. Our methamphetamine, our cocaine. I mean, the last statistics I've seen through the NFLIS were about 40% of the cocaine now seized by law enforcement has fentanyl in it. About 17% of the methamphetamine now has fentanyl in it. Number one drug seized in the United States is methamphetamine. Number two historically has been cocaine. Number two now, fentanyl. And again, let's go back to 2014 when we had about 5,500 instances of this drug being seized. I mean, that's incredible, absolutely incredible, in just a short amount of time how it's taken over. And in many states, I think 16 states now, fentanyl is now the uh, number two drug, or I'm sorry, the most drug seized in those states, overtaking methamphetamine. Never thought that was going to happen. So be careful, be kind, and be the change you want to see in this world.